outside of Savannah High Main, which we've had forever now, we still have not come up with a huge legendary or even in this case epic hunter card that's just like the finisher for it. And Gazrillo was an attempt at it, right? And King Crush.
Nice try.
I never really seen. King Crush obviously is. I wish that card was better because it's such an impressive. Just
Oh, it will be too good one day. You will be pissed at it.
Really,
it will be so fucking good. You'll rage.
Yeah, so Giant Sandworms, the next attempt, the latest attempt at trying to get a huge beast playable for Hunter, and this one is, it's not charged, but it's one of these where you can get like 2 attacks from it potentially, right? Like a double turn from it.
Triple attacks even. You can get 1,000,000,000. It's
not. Oh yeah, triple. It can be a triple
attack,
right?
Yeah.
It could literally like attack. Yeah, it could attack everything on the board as long as it stays alive, right? First thoughts on this card, Noxious. What do you think?
Bestial Wrath. No, that's all I care about really. Bestial Wrath and Stable Master. That's the only thing.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The only thing. Aside from that, I don't know. Like you can't play 8/8s for 8 without protecting them.
Yep.
So, I mean, unless BGH dies off, I don't know.
Well, that's one of the big arguments for BGH, right? Like these kind of cards, these kind of fun cards aren't allowed to be played or designed.
And I have to wonder though, like does Syndra Rhino get changed because of cards like these ever? Like we talked about, you remember a while back with
Rhino's 5 though. Like how do we get?
No, sure. But no, I'm talking. We were talking last time about like an episode about nerfing cards that we think should be different, and Rhino came up like as a side note. And I feel like Rhino's not a problem now because you can't protect it, until you get that 8/8 out. But if a day comes up where that's possible, then what happens? So I have to wonder if that's not a sign of anything. I don't know. I'm curious.
Ray, thoughts on this?
It's a pretty cool card. It's a pretty big sandworm. I mean,
whoa,
it's a giant sandworm. Okay. To be exact.
I think most of the time it's gonna work like Ironbark Protector because if you have stuff on your board, you kind of can't not kill it because it's always like if it ever gets to attack, it's going to do terrible things to your side of the table. But the stats like don't scale that well, like it passes the vanilla test, but around turn 8, it's not like super hard to kill it. So I think like people will get blown out on occasion with like Ram Wrangler with this card.
Oh my god, no.
God.
It is an epic, which is cool. You can play 2 of it. But I wonder if it's... you kind of need like setup for it. I don't know. That's how I feel.
Conceal Beast.
If it ever gets to attack, yes, you get to blow up their board. But if you think about like how the games actually play out, your opponent's only ever going to do one of 2 things. They're going to like kill it immediately, which will happen most of the time, or they'll just ignore it and go face. And at that point, you're playing like a 1-turn delayed Twisting Nether. Like they're never going to play into it, right? Like if they know their board is going to get eaten, they're not going to play more stuff for you to eat. So you're just going to take a bunch of face damage. So what I'm saying is it's like risky to play it when you're behind. It's actually like worse than Ironbark in that scenario.
Yeah.
But if Hunter's looking for like a big dude, then maybe this is the right one. I'm not sure.
Control Hunter, man. There's attempts at control.
I mean, it can still attack face, right? At the end of the entire sequence, so at least it's 8 damage.
Yeah, I can. That's true. The final attack can.
People always see big minions and they think like control whatever class, right? But if you look at like the best control deck in the game right now, it plays 2 cards that cost more than 5 mana. Yeah. So even control decks don't want Ironbark Protector, you know what I mean?
Yeah. This card reminds me a little bit of Foe Reaper, and I'm sad that that card's going away. So this will be a little bit of a consolation for it. Dog, what about you? You like this card?
Really bad. It's just the Ram Wrangler buff. And I guess you can call Pet into it and make a gimmicky deck, but it doesn't have charge, and it's just going to get removed. Yeah. If you're running a Call Pet deck, then you could just throw in a ton of high-cost beasts, and it'll work. But and then, because I can't remove all the 8/8s. But, yeah, I don't know. Just Ram Wrangler buff. That's all I see.
Yeah.
We need a deck that puts a beast... Like, we need a card that puts a beast at the top of your deck, from your deck, and then you can play Call Pet with it, so you can only play these cards in Rhino.
Oh, is Call Pet GVG?
Yeah, it's gone, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
It's a wild deck.
Oh, man. There goes the setup.
Yeah, it's a wild deck. There we go.
There's a wild deck.
Rip.
Call pets.
Wild
Well,
Sandworm.
the last thing we need is a buff.
Hammett.
The last thing we need is a buff to Ram Wrangler. So I don't know if we want that, especially in competitive. It would be a little too much RNG for me. Okay, next card we're going to talk about is a Paladin card. So this is like, I don't know, Muster's stepbrother, I guess. Stand Against Darkness, which is 5 mana, and you get 5 Silverhand Recruits. So, somewhere in the Muster, Dark Whisper type of card where you're just filling the board. What do you guys think? Doesn't seem to work quite as well as Muster, given that Quartermaster works really well because you can maybe coin into it sometimes, after Muster, and you see things like that. But you see this being viable in some type of archetype? Dog?
It depends if they have if they have some type of effect like Quartermaster, maybe it'll see play, but it's really, really bad. You don't even get the weapon from it, and
yeah, that's true.
This is a pretty all-in card. Like spending 5 mana to get like a bunch of 1/1s on board, that's a huge commitment to like Brawl or to any AoE. I mean, it could be answered with a Whirlwind. It could be answered with like almost an Arcane Missiles or something. So I don't think it's very good. There's like very little upside to it, and there definitely needs to be more synergistic cards with Silverhand Recruits. So I don't think it'll really see play.
Right, Ray?
If you look at it like off pure stats that you're getting, it looks worse than something like Silverhand Knight, and it is vulnerable to cards like Swipe and all of that. But token effects are kind of, in my opinion, the most underrated effects in Hearthstone because they're all a little bit stronger than they look. Because we're still going to have things like Gormok and Sea Giant, and if this does live a turn, it enables some pretty swingy plays. So, I mean, if you consider other 5 mana cards like Azure Drake that we know are good, like Azure Drake, if they brawl your Azure Drake, you don't feel too bad. If they're using a 5 mana spell to kill like some of your stuff, you're fine with getting your Stand Against Darkness brawled. All right, if they have to use that AoE against your 5 mana card, it's actually not bad. So I think his card's like, I mean, it looks underpowered like just by the numbers, but if the right synergy exists and there's few 1 damage AoE things like Swipe, then I could actually see this being a pretty core part of Paladin deck.
Okay, Noxious?
Yeah, well, I just echo what Reynad said because that's pretty much my initial thought on it. Like, it looks boring, but it's so much more powerful than it looks. Like, getting like buffable targets for Paladin, I think is really strong. You don't know what can happen with it, and the fact that you're spawning so many bodies with summon effects being in the game, like it's not even just Gormok and Sea Giant. Those are like the obvious insane cards. Like boring stuff, like whenever you summon a minion, something happens. Like never mind Juggler, but something else could exist that does that. I don't know. I feel like it's underrated. It's boring, and I think people got angry and pissed when they saw it at first, and I can kind of understand. But that's more of a marketing problem than a card problem. That card is pretty sick, I think. Like in
I disagree. I think it's pretty bad.
I think it's somewhere in between. I mean,
okay.
The Paladin deck, where the token Paladin deck, I remember playing a lot for a while, and I mean, it never ended up being as powerful as Secret Paladin, of course, but there were definitely elements that were really close for it to be good. Just having more minions than your opponent on the board, is generally a really nice advantage because of, like you were saying, Noxious, with the buffing ability, and even Ray with you with the Sea Giants and stuff like that. But there are cards that buff all your minions too, right? I mean, we haven't seen Muckless champion much, and it kind of ties back to the Inspire thing, but there could be potential for that sort of thing in this expansion, and I have a feeling that there will be something that's going to allow for buffing all your minions in easier fashion, or at least more viable fashion. And when you do have something like that that's fairly cheap, this is going to be pretty good. So hopeful that this isn't going to be a trash card. All right, next up, we got a Druid card. Okay, so this is another card that buffs Cthulhu. Actually, this card and the Shield Bearer. Let's just talk about both. So we've got Klaxi Amber Weaver and Ancient Shield Bearer. So one Warrior card, one Druid card. Both of them essentially heal you, as well as heal you if you have a Cthulhu at a certain amount, which is probably couldn't be easy for you to have a Cthulhu at 10.
No, I don't think it heals you. It gains health. It's a 410.
Oh, for
yeah.
Wait,
you don't restore.
Oh, 410. Oh, yeah, the Druid one is, sorry. The Warrior one is gain. Oh no, is gain. Armor, right?
Because
They both
yeah.
gain you health.
Yeah.
Or armor. Yeah.
Wait,
Right, okay.
wait.
No, it gains health. It
Wait.
gains health. Not your hero.
The
Oh
gains
yeah,
actual
see,
health.
I misinterpreted that. Okay, yeah, I thought it was
wow.
hero health. I
It's a
didn't realize.
410. It's an Ancient of
That's
War.
a
Yeah.
410. Wow,
Oh
that's
my
crazy.
god!
Yeah.
Oh my
I didn't
gosh!
realize that.
I didn't interpret it like that. Wow. Okay. Okay, but what are your thoughts on this card? Noxious, I'll start off. Just both the cards. What do you think?
I'm excited for the armor one. Honestly, like 7-drop vacuum right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it rewards you for playing some of the cards in the early game that you wouldn't necessarily be happy to play, like in most cases. But all you need to do is give your Cthulhu +4 attack. The thing is, like, can Warrior afford playing those weird tempo cards in the early mid, even in a deck like Cthulhu, or can't they? Like, what do they have to sub out to become viable with that? So I guess that's my biggest worry. The Druid one I think is nice, just because it's basically an Ancient of War that doesn't get Shadow Word Deathed. Late game, like mid game, it's usually just a Yeti for the most part, right? Like that's how I look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dog, what do you think?
Ancient Shield Bearer is pretty cool, although most warrior decks aren't mid range and they're very like Face Warrior, Patient Warrior, or Control Warrior, and Control Warrior runs a bunch of different cards. So I don't really know if it'll see play. It just depends on the other Cthulhu cards. Currently, I don't think it would, but it's possible it will if there's some better ones released. Glaxy is really interesting because it's a 410, and that's crazy. But
Twilight Drake.
at the same time, you have to play like subpar minions. It'll be interesting to see if this really works out. I mean, most of the Druids thing is you want to play like, wild growth into a really strong 4-drop, into 5-drop, into 6-drop. So you don't want to be playing these like 2-drops and 3-drops to buff your Cthulhu, or even if you have Cthulhu, I don't really see it in Druid. But I mean, maybe you can build a deck around this card and Cthulhu, because that effect is like really, really good.
Yeah, Ray, what do you think?
Oh, the Druid cards looks pretty nuts, because even in the worst case, it's Chillwind Yeti, which is a card we're looking at maybe playing anyway. There's also going to be more room in Druid for things like Cthulhu minions, since every single card in the class is getting nerfed into the ground, I imagine. Yeah. Ancient Shield Bearer is a little bit more interesting. Like with Control Warrior, like, how do I put it? Okay, with a Cthulhu deck, you kind of like force your deck to be a mid-range deck. You're playing all these dudes. And the gaining armor effect is really only good in a deck that is like control. For example, like, Control Warrior just wants to play a pile of removal and armor effects so that they don't die to burst and all that. But gaining armor in a deck like Druid, for example, like, yeah, it's cool. It'll help you in some matchups, but it's also like, if you're ahead on board, it's irrelevant that you're gaining armor. And mid-range decks will tend to be a little bit more aggressive. So like gaining the armor is basically less good in a Cthulhu deck, I think, even though that effect would be disgusting in a pure control deck.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like they're costed very aggressively, and they both might see a lot of play. We'll see. The cool thing about the Warrior one, though, is that like Cthulhu is this really just slow, clunky idiot. So the best deck to put that in is a defensive deck with an armor hero power. So maybe Cthulhu's just naturally good in the Warrior class, and in that case, this card would be really good.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I could see that too. But like you said, you'd have to have some of those minions that buff them, and right now, a lot of those spots are filled with removal cards, right, or weapons and that sort of thing. Well, it'd be interesting to see if Warriors get new weapons in the upcoming cards that are announced. That Druid card, oh my goodness! Like, it's cool, the decision making that they're potentially giving us in terms of deck building. But man, if that thing gets popular, 410 and doesn't get silenced to a 1 health is pretty awesome.
You mean a non-shredder 4-drop?
That is
unbelievable.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you can't innervate to it, but it's pretty awesome. Okay, well, that's going to be it for the cards. That's all the cards so far that have been released. Maybe there'll be some more tonight, but exciting to get a chance to talk about cards again. New cards at least on Value Town, so really happy about that. All right, why don't we move on to some of the Winter Championship talk, and let's talk about the American Winners Championship, which was this past weekend. You guys, obviously, Ray got to cast it, so I know he watched a lot of it. But Noxious Dog, you guys get a chance to catch some of the matches?
I did.
I watched a few. Yeah, just a couple.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't catch the entire thing, but the ending of it at the very least, like the last few matches.
Yeah, definitely congratulations to Amnesiac for winning. Been a good player for a long time. Mostly, he's just been too young to compete in lands. He's 15 for those of you that don't know how old he is. So it was really cool to get a chance to see him win. And I thought it was cool generally just have him and Chess Dude, who's I believe 17, and having that element in the production with having their parents there and getting a chance to interview them, and getting that kind of side of it. So I wanted to see, actually, Ray, specifically for you, in terms of being a team owner, how much more difficult, or is it more difficult to even have a young player like that be part of your team? Where you have to, I guess, have parent approval for everything and have to deal with the parents too.
Yeah, we have some young players. One of our WoW players is super young. I met his dad at one of the events they played up in Burbank, and it's not too different, to be honest. Everyone in esports is pretty young. Most people are going to be 18 to 20 or 18 to 22, and being the difference between being like 15 and 18 is not a huge deal. Nijek's definitely like on the youngest end of that spectrum, but age doesn't really, it's not really a factor in my book. I guess it makes like old people hate young people. I'll say that. I hate teenagers, right? So if you're trying to like sell keyboards to like 25-year-old dude,
oh, I see.
50-year-old kid is like not necessarily the best brand ambassador for that, but your org is not going to be all 15-year-olds, right? Like the main draws to signing a player should definitely be like, are they good at their game and reasonably competent, and then are they marketable? So even if they're not marketable to all demographics, maybe like having a young player is more appealing to younger viewers.
Yeah.
So there's like that aspect to look at. For me, like age isn't a big deal.
Okay. Dog, you mentioned watching Chess Dude, some of his matches, and you seem to be impressed by him. I've seen him maybe very limited in the past, but I've known about him for a while. Like that, he was very, one of the top players too. But what about him really impressed you?
I don't know. I just saw him play. He didn't make many mistakes, and he seemed like he knew what he was doing. His deck choices were a little off, but I don't know. I liked him, so I thought he was good. And usually I have an eye for if people are good or bad, and he was on the good side.
What'd you think about the Rogue? I mean, what'd you think of Amnesiac's Rogue? It seemed to do really well for him.
Amnesiac is a really good Rogue player. I know he had help from like Just Saying and some other really good players. So Amnesiac had the most help with prep. I think that's why he won. Although I think he was also the best player, but best player doesn't always win. But because he prepared so much with so many other good players, that was probably what let him win.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Production-wise, we had a lot of, I wouldn't say new casters because we've seen the Soddle and Cora and some of the others in the preliminaries. But it was cool. It was definitely cool seeing just all of you guys get together for these championships. Ray, how was the casting experience just overall, or just the production experience? Was it pretty smooth and a lot of fun?
Show was good. It was run pretty well. Casting is like it's not something I do often, so definitely like very critical of myself. A lot of times I mess up and it's learn a lot. But yeah, the show went smoothly. It was run well. Everyone is really competent. The quality of casters in Hearthstone has like shot up so much in the last 2 years. Because it was just abysmal a while ago. Like even like our BlizzCon casting for like the one Firebat one was like, I don't know. We've come a long way, so that's really good to see. The scene is like evolving.
Yeah,
good show for sure.
Yeah, it was nice seeing like a rotation, like everybody rotating too. Have see Frodan doing some interviews as well as casting, and everybody else kind of filling in the roles too. I think Robert did a pretty good job hosting the panel. A lot of the times I was watching, so that was really really good to see, and just overall, it's just going to help everybody out. Help everybody get better, which is that's all we want, right? With Hearthstone Productions. The European one is this week, and we were talking about a little bit, I guess, prior to the show. The European one's a little bit different because I think I'm not sure many people will know a lot of these players. Are you guys familiar with it? Here, let me link you guys. Take a look at this page, guys. I know Dog was saying you knew. I think Naaman. I think people know a little bit. And then
infamously known, but
yeah, infamously known. But
I know of Pokrovac. I mean, I've heard of him. And I don't know. He's been around for a while, so I kind of recognize his name. Everyone else, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. This will be a good, I guess, a good test to see, I guess, what kind of viewership we can get, for a championship that has lesser known players. And this is what it's all about, right? This is what the championship's all about, giving everybody that plays the ladder or plays any of the events, an equal chance of really getting on this main storyline of Hearthstone. What do you guys predict? You guys
storyline. I kind of like that. That's a good way to look at it.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys think that? I don't know. Any thoughts? Are the European players have any different type of meta than the Americans? You guys know? They tend to play any particular class a little bit more.
Maybe on ladder.
Ladder is a little different, but in the tournaments, it's all the same.
It's all the same. Yeah. Okay.
I'd imagine so, at least. Like, I don't know.
China's, you're right, Noxious. It's like and Dog, it's like in tournament play, it's really, really similar. But China's like the special butterfly. It's like the interesting one.
Yeah,
ladder and tournament decks.
The special butterfly. Dog's like, yeah, dude. We went there, we played normal decks, and we just won. It was just so simple. Yeah, I don't know. I like China's deck list. Like the deck lists that come out of China are just so insanely weird. Sometimes, like some of the stuff that I see.
They're not necessarily worse all the time.
No. Weird. I did use the word weird. And the thing is, the thing about those decks is that there's so many people. Like you're bound to surprise some of them on the way up. So a lot of those decks, like as soon as they're known, they just falter, right? Like immediately. And I think that's the biggest thing here is. Mm-hmm. We don't surprise enough people with our lists. Like there's too few of them, so you end up meeting the same guys over and over, or the deck gets publicized with a small subset of the population. So I don't know.
So Ray, are they worse most of the time? I mean, you seem to have a face when I said.
I mean, define worse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like China's pretty consistently gotten wrecked in international competition for like 2.5 years, and I think a big part of it is playing those inconsistent like techie decks. They just had solid play and solid decks. I feel like as a region it would perform better like internationally. But yeah, I don't know what it is, man. Like because they're such good players, like they're so smart. They have like reasoning behind every card inclusion and everything that they use, but I don't know, at the end of the day it ends up being these unique lists that are like very linear and like they're smart in the way they're built, but they look like the decks we were messing around with in beta, where it's like, okay, like this aggro rogue strategy or whatever is like good, proactive. I can rationalize why I put these cards together. But when you just like run the numbers, it's just like less consistent than like aggro shaman,
Yeah.
So
in this. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I cut you off. So good.
I was just gonna say, like in the case of this tournament, it's like that ramp druid, like. It's good. Ramp Druid, solid strategy. It makes sense why the cards in that deck are included, but then the guy playing Ramp Druid just like lost every game because it wasn't mid-range Druid, and you just couldn't double combo people.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, why don't we take some questions? Before we wrap up the show, you guys can tweet your question at ValueTownGG. And we'll start taking some of them. Maybe you can put some in the chat too. One of you guys maybe look at chat to see if there's any cool questions there. But
oh God, sure.
We've got one here from Matt. Matt, the answer. Could Cthulhu be good in a high cycle rogue deck? I'd like to see a 2-mana spell give Cthulhu +2/+2 and draw a card. Thoughts?
Yeah, that'd be pretty insane. A spell though, I don't know. It would have to be. It can't be 1 mana because we know what that does. Good lord, what was that?
That is
your oven.
Frodan.
What is that?
insecure motorcyclist on the highway outside.
I see.
Oh, that's a motorcycle. Holy smokes! Like, it sounds like a chair or something.
Yeah.
What?
No, a chair being
What kind of
dragged,
chair do you have?
dragged
Okay.
on the ground. Okay, a chair.
Oh, like
dragged
what
on the
type of chair you
ground.
got in your house, Chan, man? But yeah, like I don't know, dude. I feel like Rogue, like Cthulhu Rogue, seems like a logical fit just because of Shadow Step and Conceal for fun. But like, how much can you play those cards together outside of like Miracle Rogue, where you're cycling through everything to get to that Cthulhu? And then if you're shoving all the little cultists in your Miracle Rogue, then Miracle Rogue is no longer Miracle Rogue. It's just a bad tempo rogue, and then you're like, well, what am I doing with my life? So I don't know what the exact fit will be for that deck, but there's going to be something coming out of Rogue. I feel it has to.
Okay.
Rogue goes better.
Anybody else think cycle type of rogue might be good?
Cycle Rogue is always a thing. Rogue runs a lot of tempo cards that don't cost much mana, like Backstab and Preps. And when you run those tempo cards, you need... I lost my train of thought. You need more cycle, to run those tempo cards. And so you can choose when you need the tempo and when you need to use those cards. So for instance, let's say turn 4, they make a really strong play. They play a piloted Shredder. You're like, all right, I'm going to use my anti-tempo right now. I'm going to use Prep Sap. And then, that costs you 2 cards, and they don't even lose the card because they still have the Shredder in hands. So you need the cycle to keep up with that. So I think any more cycle is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Right? Any thoughts? Cthulhu Rogue? I mean,
might be good, man. I don't know. It depends on what the class card does, and it's going to be a big part of it. I think Cthulhu, just because it's like a 10 mana dude that leaves you vulnerable for a turn once it comes into play. I think it's going to be better in like the more defensive decks, or decks like well, you could argue Warlock's a defensive deck, even though the hero power is aggressive. I think it's going to be better in those kinds of decks. Things like Priest, Warrior, Warlock. You can draw through your deck, heal a bunch, get into a position where you're not going to die on the backswing after you play this 10 mana card, and then just Cthulhu people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Cthulhu having like a combo, like even just, I don't know, Miracle Cthulhu kind of deck was, I don't think going to be that good. People are just going to save their one removal card for Cthulhu, and that's a lot of your end game. You might win it still on tempo a lot of times, or sometimes. But that being like your winning condition is, I think, could be questionable. Let's see, what class do you guys from rank R do you think needs new cards the most in this expansion?
Rogue.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Hunter Rogue. I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of the cards we have are good, but they're just like, some of them are just unused. Like Rogue, for instance, we're just talking about this. Like, if they want to push Control Rogue to the extreme, to the point where like they really, really want to give a Cthulhu, Control Rogue deck, you just give the dude Stealth with the class card, right? Like, it's just gonna be retarded. But that's the kind of way you make a Control Rogue deck, because they have a win condition that's reliable and always gonna be sticking around. So, I mean, that's the type of stuff they have to do, but like, they don't have to add that much to change a class, really. Like a few cards here and there, and that's enough.
Yeah.
So
Rogue from you. What do you guys?
Yeah.
What about everybody else?
I think Paladin probably needs some early drops. They're losing Minibot and Muster. I'm not even kidding. Like, what are you supposed to do on turn 2? Are you just going to hero power? Like, they need something, and I don't know. They're already losing Avenge. So if mid-range Paladin wants to see play, and like Zombie Chow's gone, like, what are you going to play in Paladin? Like Ardent Squire or something?
Lowly Squire, dude. Stop. No, just.
That sounds like good. I mean, that was like a year ago where Paladin was terrible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly the same thing.
If they don't get like early drops, they're just going to get steamrolled. I also disagree with. Well, you said Control Rogue. Rogue is fine, but Control Rogue does need help if you want to make that archetype viable. But,
right.
Ray?
What's the question?
Any class, like, what class do you think would you like to see? Like, I guess or would you like to see some help in? I guess with a new expansion.
Paladin's gonna need it for sure. I think more and more. It's like, think back to beta, and then think about the classes that sucked. So like Priest, Paladin. Since they decided to have Classic be like an evergreen set,
Yep.
They're gonna need to print 2-drops and like multiple Priest 2-drops in every single set in order to just have it be playable. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the main thing. I'd say Priest, Paladin for sure. You're gonna need a lot of good early plays.
Okay, let's see. Samadou, more a general question. How do you get over the hump from being at rank 5 to legend? Strategies, deck choices. I guess strategies or deck choices? Which one do you think is the biggest key to going from that, or clearing that hump? Because that is a hump for sure, going from rank 5 to legend. It's kind of like 15 to 10, 10 to 5. I mean, it's almost like a 5 level type of thing, generally. Any recommendations?
A lot of people get discouraged because they're used to lower level opponents and then the whole win streak aspect up to rank 5. My best advice is just play way more games than you expect. Make sure whatever deck you're playing is top tier. Make sure you're comfortable with it in every matchup. Make sure you can identify what deck your opponent's playing as soon as the game starts. And yeah, just go from there. You just have to grind.
Yeah, I agree with that too. You can't avoid grinding. I mean, there's gonna be rare where you win 20 games in a row in that area of players. Anybody else with some advice? Dog?
Yeah, you just have to make sure you're playing a good deck. If you're experimenting with like your own stuff and you're like, I can't get past rank 5.
Yeah.
It could, like, if you're not using an optimal deck, it's going to be nearly impossible to. So I just say make sure to play a good deck and to spam games a bunch. I don't really know. Don't get on tilt.
Yeah. So I was gonna say that, like, if you feel stressed, just leave. Plus, go on templestorm.com for the decks.
I was setting Reynad up for that. He didn't even.
No, we have Blizzard. We have Blizzard now, right? You just use the Blizzard like deck listing.
That's right. Good lord.
Competitor.
If you want to bake a recipe, right?
Bake a recipe.
You playing Amani Berserker at the next tournament?
Amani Berserker.
I have all the cards. I'm pay to win. That's what Blizzard wants.
You sell out.
Corrupting
our game.
All right, Simon Leong. Okay, this is more of a kind of a tournament question or admin question. How many admins are there for any online Hearthstone tournament? Or what do you think is the ideal number? What do they need to do? It's kind of an interesting question, but nobody's ever asked that before. I don't know. It depends on the size of the tournament, obviously. But I'd say one admin per. I don't know, how many people do you think?
Depends, dude.
I would say like 32 people, maybe.
One per 32? Are you insane, dude? Some of these tournaments have tried to get away with like 2 people for 500. Like, yeah, it is ridiculous.
Well, I'm saying what would be ideal would be like 1 per 32.
Oh, ideal, yeah, sure. Yeah. 1 per 32, sure.
But I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. That's just my thoughts on.
Yeah. Ideal 1-to-1, right?
Yeah,
1-to-1. Holy crap!
1-to-1 match, like maybe.
1 to 64, 1 to 32. It really depends.
Yeah, and what do they do? I mean, they generally get all the players together, to play their matches. Make sure we're on schedule. Make sure disputes, usually that pertain to rules, get figured out, and that happens a lot. the bigger the tournament you have. So that's generally what happens there. Maybe he's looking to be an admin. So that's generally what we do. Any more questions here? I mean, let's see if there's maybe one more, and we can go. Anything in chat you guys see? I'll let you, Noxious. Why don't you choose one?
A question in chat?
Yeah. If you guys have a question, just type it in chat, and we'll read it off. There's
really nothing there besides, can I touch your beard?
Can I touch
dog,
your
why
beard?
is your shirt on? Okay, in the future, so you think there'll be standard specific tournaments and wild specific tournaments? I think we've already talked about this before. Yeah. What does Cthulhu need to be viable? There you go. See, that's a question.
We've already just been talking about this.
What neutral card do we need to be to make Cthulhu viable? One neutral, not a class specific.
Not a class specific. I mean,
yeah.
If neutral cards gave him just like taunt, something like that, that's what he needs. You need to give him an ability. Because if he had taunt, stealth, or charge, he'd be nuts.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Then
make him charge.
Charge. Oh god.
A ballsy move.
God, just make everybody rage in the community.
Like an enhancer mechano for Cthulhu. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Don't know what he's getting, right?
Oh my God.
Dude, what if they remake Bran? Like they make like Bran Darkbeard, and he's like auto summoned by Cthulhu if it's played, so you always get the double battle cry. I could see Bran Darkbeard.
Like, no, I can't see Bran Darkbeard.
Sounds like such a cool idea.
Oh man.
Oh, the imbalance.
Okay, yeah, I guess some. I mean, it's fair game, right? It's fair game for whatever these cards can give Cthulhu. So yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. All right, maybe one last one. So Jameson Meister, will Echo Cthulhu Mage be viable? Can you see that being something?
Echo is not part of GVG.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is. It's gone.
But in Wilds,
yeah.
Maybe duplicate with Cthulhu could work.
Yeah. Duplicate Cthulhu would be pretty good.
Effigy.
Oh god.
Effigy.
Man,
what would come from Effigy?
Like that Cthulhu.
How many things would come from Effigy?
7/7. I think it's like Varian, Sea Giant, things like that.
There's not much actually.
That's
sheep.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it. Why don't we wrap up the show? Great having you on, Dog. It's always a pleasure getting a chance to talk some cards.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you want to do some shout-outs?
My team, which is Liquid, not Complexity.
Should have mentioned that earlier, man. Should have mentioned that.
That's
fine. Man, that is my freaking
about
bad.
it.
That's
just,
my bad.
it doesn't matter. Just Liquid. That's it.
That's terrible. My bad. Liquid. Oh man, Monk's gonna be all over me, man, for that. Reynad, do you want to do shout-outs?
Shout out to Noxious Dog, Chris, for being here. Sorry if I pull off or rambled too much. I'm a little bit out of it today.
No,
what else? Shout out to G2A.com for all your video game buying needs. And what else do I have to do? Fnatic Gear Twitch, great guys. Store.tempestorm.com. And that's about all I have, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
Cool sponsor stuff, man.
All right, good deal. Noxious, how about you?
Crazy. Yeah, just a shout out to the team Complexity, not Liquid. So that's about it. I guess Amino for sponsoring the stream.
God.
Simple, very simple.
All right, and I'll of course round things out by thanking you guys for being on and doing the show with me every week. All the folks for watching too. Thanks for hanging out, and big shout out to the patrons too. I didn't get a chance to plug the patrons today, but huge thanks to them. And you can support the show too at patreon.com/valuetown. Here's a quick thank you to all the patrons so far. Didn't have a break today, so I didn't get a chance to do that, but I do still want to recognize all those people. You guys are awesome. And you'll find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV shortly after the show. We've got some, hopefully we're going to have a cool thing on the show maybe in 2 weeks. I don't want to do announcement, but something to definitely look forward to, or at least follow ValueTown GG. Follow the Twitter account ValueTown GG for any news on potentially that. But that's going to be it for the show today. So for Dog, Reynad, Noxious, and myself, we'll see you next week. Later.